Okay, good morning everybody, and Chazak, Baruch, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday morning as we are studying together Perashat Tavo. Today's class has been sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all Israel, as well by Lorraine Mishan for the Refuah Shlema of Gamliel ben Bahia, her husband Jimmy Mishan. Rabotai, Perashat Tavo begins with the famous mitzvah of Bikurim. Bikurim, from the word Bechor, firstborn. Bikurim are the first fruits. There is a mitzvah, a commandment. This is not the first time that we're introduced to this mitzvah. We've read about it in the past. Bikurei admatecha tavi bet Adonai Elohecha. We've read it back in Perashat Mishpatim, I believe Perashat Kitisa, that we should bring the first fruits to the Bet HaMikdash. However, this is the Perashat Bikurim because it's elaborated upon in our Perashat. The Pasuk tells us that when you have your first fruits, when they start to ripen, you shall bring them to the Bet HaMikdash, and a whole proclamation is made. Okay, and let's read them slowly. I'd like to share with you something from the Kli Yakar that Rabbi Bernstein elaborates upon. So here we go. Here is this man. He comes to the Kohen, and Va'amarta elav, and he says to him. Now let's pay attention. Here we are, chapter 26, Pasuk 3. You shall say to the Kohen, after you present your basket of fruits, you say to him, Higati hayom. Now, in English that's translated, I declare today. Okay? I declare today, La Hashem Elokecha, to Hashem your God, Ki bati el haaretz, that I have come to the land that God promised to my forefathers. Okay? It's interesting that he begins the sentence with the phrase of Higadti. Usually that's not necessary. You just say what you need to say. You don't say to someone, I am saying to you, right? Just say it. What's Higadti hayom? I declare today. And also Higati is like past tense. So really he's saying, I said already. When did you say? Okay. Then you make this whole, you're giving now a whole summary and a recap of the Jewish people. Okay, this farmer begins all the way from the very beginning. Arami oved avi vayered Mitzrayma. Again, an Aramean tried to destroy my father, and he descended to Egypt. Okay, so what's going on over here? He's beginning all the way from Arami, an Aramean. Who is the Arami over here? So again, yesterday we explained a few different opinions. Either it's referring to Yaakov himself, who was lost, he was an Arami, or it's referring to Avraham, who was also an Arami. But Rashi, going with Chazal, and this is how the Haggadah explains it, the Aramean over here is none other than Lavan. Arami oved avi. An Aramean tried to destroy my father. Lavan tried to destroy Yaakov Avinu, tried to kill him, and we're going back to that episode. So question number one, why are we mentioning that over here? Why is that important? It's true. It's also true that Nimrod tried killing Avraham. We don't mention that. It's also true that Cain killed him. I mean, what are we getting out of here? Why are we going back to this specific episode of Arami Oved Avi? An Aramean tried to destroy my father Yaakov. Anyways, Vayered Mitzrayma, my father then went down to Egypt. Yaakov then went down to Egypt. Remember when Yaakov went down to Egypt? When did Yaakov go down to Mitzrayim? Anyone know? When did Yaakov go down to Mitzrayim? When Yosef was there, right? Now, again, those two episodes have nothing to do with each other. There were many years in between the two. Arami, when Lavan tried to kill Yaakov, that's all the way up in Syria. Fast forward 20, 30 years, 40 years maybe, then Yaakov goes down to Egypt. This was many, many years later. But the Pasuk writes it as if it's a cause and effect. Arami oved avi. My father was almost killed by Lavan, and he went down to Egypt. If you didn't know better, you would think they happened because of each other, back to back. And they had nothing to do with each other. seemingly. Okay, he lived there a little bit. He became a great nation. That's the Jewish people. The Mitzrim tried to harm us. They tortured us. They gave us hard work. We cried out to Hashem. Hashem heard us. He saw our pain. He took us out with a strong arm and an outstretched hand. And miracles, we know that story, that's Pesach. He brought us to this country right here. And he gave us this land of milk and honey. And now I bring my fruits. And now I bring my fruits. Thank you, Hashem. Okay? That's it. Beautiful. So this man is not just bringing the fruits, he's not just appreciative, but he's actually verbalizing from beginning to end the entire story of his history. Imagine a person graduates, valedictorian. He gets up there for the speech. So he doesn't just say, thank you so much for, my college experience. He goes back, I'm an immigrant. My father came here with 2 cents in his pocket, and I started from nothing, and now I'm valedictorian of Harvard. He begins all the way from the beginning, all the way. Beautiful. However, again, our questions really need to be understood. Number one, let's go back. Why are we calling Lavan in Arami? Arami Oved Avi. Why are we calling Lavan in Arami? And then we have to now use our fingers and figure it out. Who is the Arami? Is it Lavan? Is it Abraham? No, it's Yaakov. No, it's actually Lavan. Just say Lavan. Why is Torah calling Lavan Arami in Aramean? Okay. Next, question number two. Again, going back to what we said before, he's saying Higati. I say today. Why does he have to say that? Just say it. You don't have to say that you're going to say something. Right? Also, the pasuk before, it says, when you come to the land of Israel, and you will inherit it, and possess it, and dwell in it. Virishta veyashavta ba. Why is it important to tell me veyashavta ba? That you're dwelling in it. That's obviously what's going on. It doesn't need to say that. It could just say, when you come to the land of Israel, bring your first fruits. Is it important that we yashav or not yashav? Why does that matter at all? Okay, that's question number 3. And again, what's the connection between Yaakov trying to get killed by Lavan and us going down to Mitzrayim? So here are 4 very, very important questions. And the Kli Yakar, after asking these questions, he explains that the goal of Bikurim, what is the goal of Bikurim? What's the goal of bringing the first fruits? The goal, really, is something very dangerous that happens. When we go through life, it's very easy to fall into a trap of becoming settled. Of becoming settled in this world. Before a person is born, Hashem tells the neshama, listen, I'm sending you down, Ariel, listen to me. I'm sending you down to planet Earth. Make sure you remember why you're going. Yes, you remember? I remember. You're not going to forget? I'm not going to forget. Okay, remember, you're going to do mitzvot. You're going to help the world. You're going to do chesed. You're going to perfect yourself, and then you're coming back here. Don't forget, don't get too caught up over there. Okay, I remember. But this world, of course, there's not only a physical gravitational pull, there's a spiritual pull. This world pulls us down, and sometimes we forget why we're here. It's very easy for us when we live in this world, and there's money, and there's things, and there's finances, and there's sports, and there's food, and there's games, and there's vacation, and there's so many things around us to distract us that sometimes we think that we're here and we get comfortable with this world that we're in, and we forget that this world is only a means to an end. We think that this world is the goal. And again, Now, if we sit and we philosophize and we talk about it, of course, Rabbi, 100%. There's Olam Haba, and there's a next world. You're right. Of course, I'm not going to argue on you. But our day-to-day, unless we think about it, we could go through the day very quickly, very easily, and, it's about eating and having a good time and vacationing and making money and being able to retire, and we make this world the ikar. Of course, the famous mashal, not to take too long. You know what? We'll give a off mashal, because the real mashal it's a beautiful mashal. But imagine a guy goes to Vegas on a business trip, and his father says to him, "Listen, you're going. Make sure you go to the show. Make sure you find the merchandise. Make sure you find the vendors. Make sure you find the buyers. You find the sellers, whatever it is, and make sure you come back with 5-6 contacts." And the kid goes to Vegas, and he's very excited. It's his first time, and he goes to the casino, and he starts having a good time. Orders a few drinks. He misses the first show. The next night, he misses the next one. Very quickly, after the whole week passes, the kid didn't go to any shows. And he goes back with only a good time and drinks, but he didn't make any relationships, he didn't form any contacts, nothing. Right? Of course, the father's going to be very upset at the kid. It's not why I send you. Yes, you could have a good time. Yes, you could have a drink. Yes, do things. But the goal, don't forget the goal. The goal is to find buyers. We're here to sell merchandise. Sometimes we could come through life and forget why we're here. We could get very easily settled. I have my schedule, I have my regimen, I have my work, I got my friend, I got my football, I got my tennis, I got my weekends, I got my vacations, I got everything going on, and life is great. Life's great. Right? Everything's good. I'm healthy, I'm happy, and we become very, very settled and we forget why we're here. Okay, the goal of life, we have to remember, is not comfort. If the goal of life is comfort, which is the world that we live in today, the goal of life is comfort, which is why the world that we live in, the generation that we're witnessing, will do anything that they can to be comfortable. Whether it's drugs or painkillers, whatever it is, the less stress, the less pain, the less I have to exert myself, the more comfortable I can be, the better life is. We're doing a very big mistake when we teach our children that the goal of life is to be comfort. Because often, success and comfort do not go hand in hand. Okay, ask anyone that's successful. It was not easy getting there. Okay? A football player is it's not comfortable to be a football player. If a football player is looking for success, then they'll eat whatever they want, right? They're not going to be successful if they're looking for comfort, right? Tom Brady, who is the most successful quarterback, look at his schedule. There's nothing comfortable about his life. He can't eat almost anything. Okay, look at his diet. The way he works out, okay, is not comfortable to be a football player. It's not. But we have to choose success or comfort. That's the reality. But unfortunately, the world that we live in pushes comfort. When that becomes the goal, comfort is the antithesis to spirituality. It's the antithesis to success. One of the most dangerous things is when we get settled in this world. Ve'yashavta ba. That's not saying that you're going to dwell in Israel. Says the Kli Akar, the Pasuk is telling you, if you fall into the trap of being settled physically, if you're yashav, don't forget the goal of life is not ve'yashavta. The goal of life is not to have a house and to have an income, that a business that runs itself, and I have my money working for me in stocks and interest, and I don't ever have to do anything again, and I made it in life. That's not the goal of life. It's great to have that, but that shouldn't become my goal. How do I get out of that? Says the Kli Akar, the way to get out is with bikurim. A person brings bikurim, and it removes such a person from that very dangerous trap. That mentality of, I'm here for this world. Bikurim reminds a person, I'm bringing this because who gave this to me? Oh, God gave this to me. There's something that Hashem put me here for. There's a mission that I have. I'm here to do something. I'm not here to drink and to enjoy. There's a purpose. There's a purpose to this world. Don't think like, animals, they think, what's the difference between men and animals? An animal goes through life, there's no sense of purpose or mission. That's what an animal thinks. They just go, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to accomplish. By the way, if the goal of life was to be comfortable, then we were much better off being animals. Animals, you look at animals, they're living life. There's no tuition, they don't have to worry about taxes, there's no stress about, right? An animal, it's chilling. They don't have to worry about all of these different real estate and stocks and money. To be an animal is the most comfortable, painless experience. It's enjoyable. Forget about it. And if you're an animal that's owned by someone, even better. They buy you a crib, they buy you a stroller, they take you out. There's like, salons for animals and pets and everything. And you could have a life from beginning to end taken care of. But that's not the goal of life. Right? And Bikurim helps put us in that mindset, in that frame of mind. Don't forget, you're here for a reason. There's a purpose to life. Avraham was actually from Aram. According to the Rashbam, Arami Oved Avi is referring to Avraham. Avraham was a lost Aramean. Avraham was a lost Aramean. Avraham was from Aram. He ended up leaving. By the way, when God said to Avraham, Lech Lecha, that's not the first time that Avraham left. Avraham originally left even before that, from Aram. Whether or not he was born there, but he left Aram, he left, which is I think today Syria. Why did he leave? The Midrash says that Avraham saw the people of Aram, they were drinking, they were eating, they were comfortable physically, and that was the goal of life. That was the focus of their existence, to be as comfortable as possible, and as long as you have the physical needs, that's the goal. That's their focus. Olam hazeh. And Avraham said, I got to get out of here. I cannot stay with such people, because there's much more to life than that. There's got to be more than just thinking about my physical self. What about my soul? What about my spirituality? So Avraham left. You know what the problem was? Avraham's grandson. Who was Avraham's grandson? Avraham's grandson was Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu went back to Aram. Yitzchak actually sends Avraham back. Yitzchak sends Yitzchak sends Yaakov back to Aram. When it was time for Yaakov to get married, Yitzchak said, don't marry anyone from here, go back to Aram. Even though Aram was filled with horrible values and idolatry, and this world was their priority. And it's interesting, because why didn't Yitzchak want Yaakov to marry someone from Canaan? Because Canaan's filled with idolatry. But so is Aram. So why is Aram any better? And I believe it's the Ran that answers something very important, by the way. This is like a side point, but it's important to talk about this just for 1 second. Yes, Aram had Avodah Zarah, and so did Canaan. But there was one thing that Canaan had that was worse than Aram. And that is that Canaan not only did Avodah Zarah, but they also had bad midot. They had bad character. At least Aram, people from Aram had good midot. They had good character. Yes, there's a lot of bad things about them, but they were good people, good-natured people. And Yitzchak, knew that, and Abraham also, find a wife for Yitzchak, not from here. Go to over there to get someone. Why? Because Abraham, Yitzchak, they knew that if a girl is raised with corrupt parents, with parents that have bad midot are instilled in the children, and it's very hard to get rid of that. Ideologies, avodah zarah, and bad thoughts, right? Even if the parents have that, and even if that's what they taught to their children, we could teach them otherwise. They can be taught differently. But bad character, very hard to get rid of. And therefore, we're better off getting a girl from Aram, even though she has avodah zarah, because she has good midot. What an important lesson, by the way. Okay? Very eye-opening run, that's for sure. But be it as it may, Yaakov goes back to Aram, and he goes and he gets married there, and he lives with Lavan. It's something very interesting. Lavan was someone we read about him. On the one hand, he hated Yaakov, right? But at the same time, he wanted him to stay with him forever. Such an interesting relationship, right? Many people would say, "Well, that's me and my wife, Rabbi." Right? I hate him, but you can't live with him. You can't live without him. But really, Lavan, pick. You love Yaakov or you hate Yaakov. You hate him, so get him out of here. But no, I want him to stay with me. The reason is because Lavan, why did he hate Yaakov? He hated Yaakov because of what Yaakov represented, who Yaakov was. Yaakov was the opposite. He was the antithesis of Lavan. Lavan represented Aram. Lavan was about physical existence. Yaakov was someone who was in touch with his spirituality. Yaakov was somebody who thought about Hashem, who thought about the next world, who thought about purpose and meaning and mission. These are words that Lavan never thought of. There is no mission. There is no purpose. He hated who Yaakov was. Of course, if I could corrupt him, if I could change who he is, if I could make Yaakov a little bit more like me, there's nothing better. Actually, me and Yaakov could get along just fine. There's a lot of potential in Yaakov, Lavan would say. If I could just corrupt him a little bit. And that is why at the end, when Yaakov ends up leaving, it's time to go, he tells his wives. So Lavan actually tries to kill him. Because again, there was no way that Lavan could go to sleep every night in good conscience knowing that there was someone like Yaakov alive. Yaakov gave him a huge question mark on his own life. Yaakov posed to Lavan a dilemma. There was a moral dilemma every time Lavan saw Yaakov. How could I be me when I have someone like this who is such a moral compass and question mark on my existence? Well, let us ask that simple question. Did Lavan succeed? Did Lavan corrupt Yaakov? Well, you may say simple answer, of course not. Yaakov is Yaakov Avinu. Okay, and that is the simple answer. However, Rabotai, we go to Perashat, right after Yaakov leaves Lavan. We get to Perashat Vayeshev. And what does Vayeshev mean? Vayeshev, from the word Vayashavta, to settle. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megure aviv be'eretz Kenan. Vayeshev means to dwell, to settle. And Rashi right here in the beginning of the Perashah. Look at Rashi. Vayeshev Yaakov. Bikesh Yaakov lashevet beshalva. Yaakov wanted to just relax. Vayeshev, he just wanted to sit. He just wanted to be comfortable. Bikesh Yaakov lashev beshalva. Yaakov just wanted to have some peace and quiet and tranquility. And so God says, yeah, you want to relax. And what does he send him? The whole saga of Yosef. Says the Kli Yakar, where did Yaakov get this idea from? Yaakov his whole life understands we're not here to relax. We're here with a mission. We're here for a purpose. We're here to succeed spiritually. We're here with a goal. All of a sudden, Yaakov wants to chill. Where did he get that? Who taught him that? Says the Kli Yakar, he got that from Lavan. Lavan, says the Kli Yakar, did have his mark. He left his mark on Yaakov. By the way, if we go back to Perashat Vayetze, when it's time for Yaakov Avinu to leave, why does he leave? So the Pasuk tells us that he calls his wives and he says to them something very interesting. Please go back to Perashat Vayetze, back to the book of Bereshit. And he says to them, chapter 31. Chapter 31, Pasuk 5. He calls his wives and he says to them, Bayomer lahen, Ro'eh anochi et penei avichen. He says to his wives, I see your father's face, right? His ki enenu elai kitmo shom. I see that your father is not the same guy that he was with me yesterday. His disposition, I'm noticing that he's a little bit angry with me. But the Mefarshim explain, the Baalei Musar say over here something a little bit deeper than that. Yaakov was saying to his wives, you know, your father to me is not the same that he was yesterday. What does that mean? Not that he's acting differently to me. But Yaakov was saying to them, the way I see your father today, the way I look at him today is very different than how I looked at him yesterday. When I came 20 years ago, I saw your father, I saw somebody crooked. I saw your father, I saw somebody that was focused on this world. I knew that was wrong. But Yaakov was being honest and he was saying, you know, the way I see him now, he's not so bad. He's okay. If that's the case, that means that my values have become corrupted. That means that Lavan a little bit affected me. Lavan did leave his mark on me. Lavan is changing me for the worse, Yaakov is telling his wives. And if you look, I saw something beautiful one time. What was Yaakov Avinu's dream right before he gets to Lavan's house? He had a dream. The famous dream of the ladder, of angels, of spirituality. Yaakov's life's mission and goals in life are all about spirituality and malachim and getting close to Hashem. That's what he's dreaming about. What is Yaakov dreaming about 20 years later after spending 20 years with Lavan in Aram, in Aramean's home? What is he dreaming about now? Anyone know what are his dreams at the end? He starts dreaming about the sheep and business and money and spotted. And Yaakov says, look what happened to me. I became influenced. It's only a matter of time, by the way. It's a reality. Through osmosis, you become influenced by your surroundings. The Rambam says, be very careful who you hang out with. AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. People, things, places. You are who your friends are. That's who you're going to be. You hang out with Lavan, even if you're Yaakov Avinu, it's going to have a toll and effect on you. And Yaakov says, look, I used to dream about Hashem and angels and getting close to Shamayim. Now I'm dreaming about business and about money and sheep. Look what happened to me. Your father's face, the way I think about someone like your father today, is very different than how I used to think about him. I've become a little bit more tolerant, says Yaakov. It's time to get out of here. And so in a way, Yaakov, look what happens. He gets back home. Vayeshev Yaakov. He wants to settle. He wants to just relax and take it easy. Whoa! Where'd you get that from? That's not a Jewish concept. To retire and relax. A Jew never retires. A Jew never retires. Yes, we retire from work, but we're never retiring from who we are, our mission, our goal, our purpose in this world. We're here to fight, we're here to do, we're here to accomplish. Where did Yaakov get this from? Vayeshev. He got it from Lavan. And so God knew that this a little bit seeped into Yaakov. And so what's the remedy? What is the way out? Says the Kli Yakar, the solution to all of this is Egypt. If there's someone who gets too comfortable in this world, then the only way to cure such a person is by removing every single possible comfort possible. The Jews in Egypt were slaves. A slave has no comfort. A slave does not have his own existence. A slave is someone who doesn't have a chance to think about this world. He's a slave. He's beaten up. There is no comfort. It's the exact opposite of being comfortable. And so for 210 years the Jewish people were slaves, and in a way Mitzrayim, the Pasuk says, was a kur habarzel. It was a smelting furnace. It was a way of removing the ideologies of comfort from our minds. Right? That was a slave realizes how capable he is. We think, oh, I can't, it's too cold to go to shul, it's too cold to sit in the sukkah, it's too far to walk on Shabbat. A slave doesn't have any of those thoughts. No place is too far for a slave to walk to. No temperature is too cold for a slave to be in. A person that goes through slavery, they become disconnected with this physical world. That's the cure to a mentality of Lavan. And so we go back to the Bikurim, and this farmer who is Vayashav Taba, he becomes a little bit settled, like Yaakov. Vayeshev Yaakov, Vayashav Taba, says the Pasuk, to remove ourselves from that mentality, to make sure that we don't have a relapse. Because in Egypt, success. In Egypt, we left that mentality of Aram. But every single year, we have to remind ourselves through the bringing of Bikurim not to become settled, not to Vayashav like Yaakov did. So in a way, go back to what this guy reads. Look at this. He says, Arami oved avi. Lavan tried to destroy my father. Now we understand, by the way, what kind of destruction. How did Lavan try to kill him? Simply, he killed him at the end when he followed him. He followed him all the way home with a sword. He tried killing him. But according to the Kli Yakar, he tried killing him by destroying all of his ambitions and his perspective and focus on what our mission is in this world. That's a destruction that Lavan tried to cause on Yaakov. A spiritual destruction. Arami oved avi. And because of that, and because a little bit Lavan was successful, Vayered Mitzrayma. We asked, what's the cause and effect? It had nothing to do with each other. But the answer is beautiful. 100% they have to do with each other. Because of what Lavan did, Yaakov had to go down to Egypt. He had to endure slavery. He had to learn and remove all of those ideologies and attitudes of Lavan from within himself. Because of Lavan trying to destroy us, because a little bit it took a toll on us, we had to go down to Egypt. And that's why Lavan over here, by the way, is not called a Lavan. He's called an Arami, an Aramean. Because it's that midah of Aram that Lavan had, it's that specifically that was almost going to destroy and corrupt Yaakov Avinu. And that's why we say all of this when a guy brings Bikurim. It's through the Bikurim that the guy is first of all making the trek all the way, the long walk back to Eretz Yisrael, back to the Beit HaMikdash. And he says, Higadti, by the fact that I'm even walking here, I have already said something. And this is something that ensures that we always remain focused, that we always remember why we are here, we always remember what's the goal of life. Of course, we don't have Bikurim today, but today we have other reminders. Today we have Shabbat. Shabbat is a beautiful way, and we've spoken about in the past how Shabbat is there to keep us focused. Shabbat is something that keeps us from not becoming an Arami, from not becoming like Lavan, because again, the world that we live in, they'll sell us every comfortable type of thing. Today it's all about convenience. We're in the convenience generation. Whatever, if you have something that will make someone's life comfortable, you can sell it and you will become a millionaire, okay? And when you do, make sure you give me some of your commission, okay? When you, right, if all you got to do is figure out how to make someone's life more comfortable. Uber Eats, all of these apps, it's just a press of a button and something will come to my home. If you're selling even religious articles, all you got to do is figure out how to sell it in a comfortable way. Create an app that people could order etrogim from their phones in one click of a button. They'll pay $100 as long as it's easy and comfortable. Amazon, 100%. You don't even have to get out of your chair. Today, if the more comfortable, that's the world that we live in. Out there, that's what it's all about. So it's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to forget. That's not the goal of life as a Jew. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to do something. Working, it's not easy or comfortable or convenient to go to work. It's hard working. Everyone that's going on the train, driving on the highway, you have to go to work. It's very hard to go to work. It's not comfortable. Right? We are here in this world to work. That's what we're here to do. Okay? And the more we remember that. So as an example, on Shabbat, Shabbat is a time that we take a break. Shabbat, we don't work physically. Shabbat reminds us that we're not here for the physical world. We're here to be in touch with our neshamot. We are here with a purpose. The shofar is an amazing wake-up call. Shofar wakes us up. The shofar says, hello, you're sleeping. You're stuck in this world of comfort. Don't forget, that's not why I created you. That's not why you came down here. The shofar here is here to wake us up. So we have throughout the year, Baruch Hashem, checkpoints every week on Shabbat, different ways of reminding us who we are and what we are here to do. We should always be zochet to remain focused. Remember here that we have a mission, we have a goal. Of course, if we could also be comfortable, that's beautiful. There's no mitzvah to not be comfortable. If a person has air conditioning, a person shouldn't say, oh, I'm going to sit in the heat now because I'm not supposed to be comfortable. Of course not. Right? A lady that wants to give birth naturally and not go on an epidural because they want to experience the pain of Chava. Okay, that's you're right, but that's not. I don't think that's endorsed. Person, Hashem gave us a gift called medicine, and we are allowed to use it, 100%. But that shouldn't be the goal of life, to be comfortable. We should always be zochet to remember that we're here, to be always to focus and fulfill our missions and our purpose that we have in this world. We'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.